welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing our brand new die, Build a Christmas Tree. We're also going to be introducing our candy cane background stencils and also our peppermint stripe stencils. So let's go ahead and check all of these out. First, we're going to take a look at the Build a Christmas Tree die, which lets you build a Christmas tree. It has all of these pieces that you can layer to form a really gorgeous Christmas tree. And then it also has a little tree trunk. It has a star for the top of the tree. And then it has a garland in multiple sizes that you can layer onto the tree. And then these cute little decorative things that you can add over the garland. And then two little ornaments as well. So to layer your Christmas tree, all you need to do is just add some adhesive to the base piece and then layer on these little stitch scallop pieces. I like to start with the bottom one and then layer them, and you'll see that they'll overlap a little bit to give the really pretty detail of this stitched Christmas tree. So now we'll add the top of the Christmas tree and you can see just how cute that looks. The next thing that we need to do is add the trunk, so we'll just add a little adhesive to the top and then you can just layer the Christmas tree right over top, and that is just looking adorable. Next, we have the star for the top of the Christmas tree. There's a base, and then there's this decorative star piece that has a pretty stitching as well. You layer those on top of each other, and then you can layer that at the top of the tree. And then here you can see this gorgeous garland, and here we've cut it out of some silver metallic cardstock, and we did some gold metallic cardstock for the star. And you can see how you can layer these pieces onto the tree and then just trim off any of the excess. I like to layer them in diagonals like this so it looks like someone either added tinsel to the tree or garland or all sorts of cute decorative things. And so we're going to layer those on each layer of the Christmas tree, and you can see just how sweet that is. Now it looks really, really great like that, or you can add these little decorative circles over top, which look really, really cute too. So we're just going to add little dots of glue into the center of those circles, and then we can layer these in some red cardstock on top. And I just love this look so much. You can also layer the little ornaments on the tree as well, so you can layer them with all of the garland on the tree, or you can also layer them without the garland. So there's a lot of fun decorating that you can do. You can also take those little circles that we cut out of red cardstock and just layer those to be little ornaments on the tree as well. So now that we built our Christmas tree, we're going to take a look at the peppermint stripe stencils. And here you'll see that it's a two-step stencil. There is a thicker line here, and you'll see that it has etched guidelines that help you line it up with the thinner lines. So it makes it super easy to use. So I'm just going to put a piece of cardstock down here, and then I'm going to start with the thicker stripe. Now what's cool about this peppermint stripes background is you can create peppermint stripes, but you can also create plaids with it. So I'm going to show you how to do both of those. So here I'm just taking some lobster ink, and I'm just going to ink over these big stripes to create a really cool background. And I love the look of these stripes even just like this. I think it looks beautiful. But now we're going to add a little more detail. And so you'll see we're going to bring the thinner stripes in, and there are etched guidelines so that you can line it up with those thicker stripes really easily. And then just brush over again with the lobster ink. You could always bring in a different color here, like a turquoise would be really pretty, but I wanted that classic peppermint stripe with the red and the white. So we're just going to ink over all of these here, and then we can lift up the stencil and you can see this beautiful peppermint stripe that we've created that is just a perfect background for holiday cards. If you did these stripes in other colors, they would just be a fun neutral, and that's what we're going to do here and show you how you can also create some plaids. So I'm just using some Blue Jay ink to ink over those thicker stripes. Then I'm going to lift up my stencil and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So here we go, rotate 90 degrees, and that is going to give us a cool little plaid stripe. So we're going to layer that over top, and then just like we did before, we're going to add our Blue Jay ink. And look how gorgeous this is. It is such a beautiful background. Would be great for the holidays, but also great for year-round. You just have to change the color of the ink to match whatever project you're doing. Now that we've done something with the thicker stripes, you can do the same technique with the thinner stripes. So here I'm going to ink it up with Blue Jay ink again. Then we're going to lift up our stencil and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, just like we did before. And also that stripe just like that is awesome too. But we're going to rotate 90 degrees, and then we're going to layer that over top, and then we're going to ink it up with our Blue Jay ink again. And now when we lift this up, you can see this beautiful pattern. Now, I made a little mistake in the center there, but that's okay. It's the perfect place for embellishment. So I could do something like take this foiled Merry Christmas and just layer that over top, and look at that. It would be the most beautiful Christmas card. Now you can take this plaid and step it up even further. So now I'm bringing in the thicker stripes again, and we're gonna layer this over top. Now I had meant to do the whole thing in my merman ink, but I made a mistake and did one of them in blue, so I'm just alternating back and forth, and it's gonna look awesome. So I've got some blue jay, and then I'm going in with my merman ink, and I'm gonna lift that up, and now you can see this really cool plaid start to form. I'm gonna take my stencil and rotate it again, and I'm gonna do the same thing, alternating my colors again with the blue jay and then the merman. And this is going to create a really beautiful plaid. And these are just really so much fun to make. And then we can lift up the stencil and you can see this really cool plaid that we've created. So there are so many different ways you can do it as the traditional peppermint stripe, or you can rotate your stencils to create cool backgrounds that you can use on your cards in the holidays and year round as well. Next, we have our candy cane background stencils. And on these stencils, you'll see that there's a little etch guideline to help you up for the different stencils. And we're going to be creating this candy cane background in two different ways. We'll make it one way here, and then for another card, we'll make it another way. So here I have some craft cardstock, which is so pretty. And we're going to line up the base candy cane piece. This is the one that has the full candy cane. It doesn't have the stripes. And I'm going to ink this up with some Yeti ink, which is a white pigment ink. And I just love the look of white pigment ink on craft cardstock, and I think it's so beautiful for the holidays too. And then we can lift this up and reveal our candy canes. Now, I set this aside to dry for a little while because pigment ink is a sticky ink. Once it was completely dry, now I can bring the second step of the stencil in, and I'm going to line that up, and the etch guidelines are really going to help here. And then I'm going to ink this up with some lobster ink to be the red stripes on my white candy canes. And so we're just going to ink up this whole thing. And then now we have this gorgeous candy cane pattern. Isn't that just so beautiful? Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And I just thought I have to make a card with this right now. So I'm going to take the largest of the outside in stitch rectangles and die cut this piece. I have a tendency to stencil on a little bit bigger piece than what I want to die cut so that I have enough space to kind of line it up in the exact perfect place. And now I can die cut my piece. It's going to be a great layering piece. And then here we're going to bring in that Christmas tree that we created at the beginning with the Build a Christmas Tree die. I already have my background and my tree. I just had to put them together. Now for the sentiment, I'm going to be using the brand new Scripty Mary outline add-on. So Scripty Mary is an older die, and the outline add-on is really new. And so what you can do is die cut the outline and then layer the Scripty Mary word over top for a different look. And I just love this. So for the outline piece, we did some shimmer cardstock and then some red cardstock for the Mary. I'm going to add some liquid glue on the back and then layer that over top. And I just love the look of this. It takes that Scripty word and makes it really nice and bold. Now I'm going to add some foam squares to the back of these pieces, and then I'm going to layer these onto my candy cane background. And the little red ornaments with the candy canes I think look so cute, and then the red and white with the Mary goes with the candy canes too. It's just adorable. And then for the word Christmas, I'm going to bring out the new Henry's Build a Sentiment stamp set, the winter one. And there's all these different things on there, and there's a Christmas. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp out the Christmas in some black licorice ink. And then I'm going to take out, this is our Treat Cart Sentiment add-on stamp set, and it's got these tiny little banners in it, and they're perfect for words like this. So I'm just going to use one of those banners, line it up with the word Christmas. We can run that through the die cut machine, and now we'll have this tiny little banner that we can layer underneath the word Mary. I'm just going to add some adhesive to that and layer that right underneath. The last thing that we need is a card base. I'm going to take out a standard size card base. It's going to be 5.5 by 4.25, and also some red cardstock. And that red cardstock behind it is going to help the whole thing pop. We're going to add some adhesive to our card base, and then we can layer our red panel on top of that. And then we'll add some adhesive to the whole candy cane Christmas tree background piece. And then we're going to layer that over top. And I think this is so cute. The stencil background makes it feel so special, and that Build a Christmas Tree is just too cute, and I love this whole red and white candy cane theme. Now I wanted to show you another version of this card that I made where I used some shimmer cardstock for the tree and didn't add any ornaments. So I love that on the Build a Christmas Tree you can either add the ornaments or you can have it plain too, and both look absolutely amazing. Now, speaking of the Build a Christmas Tree, Shari is going to make a super cute card taking the Build a Christmas Tree and bringing it in with some of our favorite stamp sets. So take it away, Shari.
So I am making a scene with my Build a Christmas Tree. So I've pulled in images from Christmas dreams and ho ho holidays. I've already colored and cut those out with the coordinating dies. For my background, I'll be using this cream color flannel for kind of the wallpaper of my room. And then I thought I would pull out this small plaid pattern from the Falling Leaves collection for my Build a Christmas Tree. The first thing I'm going to do is cut out this cream plaid with the largest of the outside in stitch rectangles, and this will give me the base for my little scene. For the floor of my scene, I'm using that same outside in stitch rectangle to cut a piece of the coffee table pattern paper so we have that brown wood grain look to the floor. And then, of course, as I said, I'm going to build a Christmas tree out of this fun dark green plaid. This is from the Falling Leaves collection. I think this would also look good out of that dark green from the favorite flannel collection as well. And I will be taping these in place so that my plaid stays in the same orientation on all of my pieces of my tree. I also need the solid piece to go behind, and I decided to cut that out of some algae cardstock. And before I start to assemble my tree, I am going to do a little bit of inking along the edges of this pattern paper. So I'm using a small blending brush and some Noble Fur ink just to add a dusting of darker green along that scalloped edge of my Christmas tree. This defines these pieces from each other and really makes the tree have some nice dimension. I can add some tape runner all over that solid piece and start to build my Christmas tree with my pattern pieces of paper. So I'll start with the bottom, and you can see I'm lining that up. I can kind of see that it's slightly bigger than the base so that I don't have to worry about the base peeking out from behind my pattern paper. And then I'll just work my way up to the top. Now I need to trim my floor down a little bit. I made it taller than I need it to be, so I'm just placing these onto that panel so I can mark about how tall I need to cut that. So about 1 inch is where I cut that. That seems to be sort of the sweet spot when I'm trimming off a bottom border like this. And I'll just erase that little pencil mark. And then for the other parts of my tree, I cut the trunk from some paper bag cardstock, and then I felt like this favorite flannel kind of aqua color would be great for the tree skirt. I thought about using the red, but it did not match those bright reds that I had in my colored images, so I decided to go with something not so bright. And then I'm just adding my trunk and my tree skirt with a little bit of liquid glue. Now, of course, I need to decorate my tree, so I've got the little baubles and ornaments from this set as well as the star, and I'm going to cut all of these from some sparkle cardstock. So these little circles I'll cut from red, these larger ornaments I'm going to cut from some silver glitter cardstock, and then the star, of course, I will cut from some gold. And I've gone ahead and cut all of those pieces, so I'll add my star. I have 3 of those large ornaments, and I'm just popping out that little piece that's in the hanger of the ornament and figuring out where I want to place those. I thought it would be fun to kind of mix and match the decorations on this tree a little bit, so I have my large ornaments, and then I'm going to go through and add some dots of glue, and this is where I'm going to put those little red circle ornaments. And I just think that this is a really fun look for this tree. There's so many ways that you can decorate this tree. You can even use some small stamped images. But now I'm going to put my flooring into my living room here that I'm creating, just using some tape runner. I will go ahead and put this whole panel onto a card base. And since I use that outside in stitch rectangle, I get that nice white frame around it. And then I can start to place my items in my living room scene and create this cute little Christmas scene. I am going to go ahead and add that bright red bow to my fireplace. And then I'll just glue my tree right down to that background. This is kind of the focus of my little scene here is that beautiful tree. I'm going to add my fireplace and sort of tuck it behind so it looks like it's further in the background. Of course, I have my cookies and my milk for Santa. And then I have my cute little sleeping cat who's sleeping under the tree. I have Santa who's coming to bring all the fun presents to the kids and the pets. And then I have my little sleeping dog who's going to go over here on the right side beside the fireplace. I also have some presents for these little guys. So I have that little bone with the bow and that cute little fish, which I'll just add with the cat. So clearly Santa has already delivered some of his presents. Now I need to add a sentiment, and I'm using a sentiment from the Christmas Dreams stamp set that says, "May all your holiday dreams come true." So I'm just picking this up with my acrylic block, and I'm going to stamp it in some black ink right above the fireplace. That's why I left that kind of void in the wall up there, because this is a perfect place for my sentiment. And then I also colored and cut out 2 tiny little stockings, which I thought would be great to kind of fill in up here in the left corner where I don't have anything going on. So I am adding these little stockings like they're just hung on the wall behind the tree. And of course, I wanted to add a little glitter to some of these elements so the tree wasn't the only thing glittery. So I added it to the stockings, the bows on the presents, and of course the fire. And then here is my cute little Christmas scene with that build a Christmas tree. I think this is a fun addition to create some cute little Christmas scenes.
Oh my goodness, Shari, this card is so cute, and I love how you brought the die-cut Christmas tree into a cute stamp scene. It just makes me smile. Now, I'm coming back to my awesome candy canes here, but this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. I am going to use some white cardstock, and I'm going to use this main base piece for the candy cane, and I'm going to ink it up with some plastic flamingo ink, which is like a hot pink ink. So first we're going to be creating kind of a pink candy cane, which is kind of fun. And instead of starting with the white base and adding the color with the stripes, we're going to start with the colorful base, and then we're going to add the white stripes on top of that. So I like that there's different ways that you can use this stencil depending on what works best for your card. Now that we have our colorful candy cane base, we're going to add the stripes on top of that. So we're going to bring this stencil in, use those etch guidelines to help line up the whole thing, and now we're going to bring in that Yeti ink over top of the colorful ink. And so this is a really great way to add the white stripes of the candy cane onto a white cardstock base versus the craft colored card base that we started with earlier. So I like that you can really mix and match with these. When I use the white ink over top of the colorful ink, what I like to do is just kind of pounce with my brush a little bit to really even out the ink over top of it. So you'll see I kind of rub and then I pounce, pounce, pounce. And that really helps it kind of go into the color and gives it a nice look over top. So now it's the big reveal. We're going to lift up our stencil and look how cute this is. I love these hot pink candy canes. And I forgot to mention earlier that the cardstock that I'm using is a textured dot cardstock. So it has this really cool embossed texture on it, and you can stencil right over top of that, which is awesome. And then right here, I'm taking the largest of the stitched rectangles, and I'm going to layer that onto this piece and die cut it so that I have that pretty stitched detail. You'll see that I stenciled on a piece that's a little bit bigger than the die so that I could run it through the die cut machine and have that beautiful continuous pattern on there. And then here now in the light, you can see that beautiful textured dot and then how pretty it is with those cute little pink candy canes stenciled over top. I just think that is so much fun. So next I'm going to take a standard size card base that's 5.5 by 4.25, and I'm going to layer this whole panel on top. And right now I am recreating a card by Elena that just is the cutest thing ever. So thank you so much, Elena. And one of the things that she did is she took a white gel pen and she added extra little details over her candy canes. Now you certainly don't need to do this, but I just thought it looked so cute. So she added little white lines right around the stripes all over, and I just thought it was really fun to do this. Like it just kind of was relaxing to just take my white gel pen and add these cute little lines and details. So I added little lines around all of the candy canes, and then I also added like a little curved shine line onto the candy canes too, and I think it makes them feel really special. And here's a close-up of these candy canes. They turned out so cool, and now they need something that's just as cute to layer over top. So we're going to work with an oldie but a goodie here, and this is our large wreath die. It has these kind of large sprigs here and then this little circle, and we're going to die cut that all out of some noble fir cardstock. Then I'm going to add some tape runner all over this ring, and I'll also add some tape runner to the back of the sprigs as well. And then we're going to layer the sprigs onto the wreath. So I'm going to start with my first sprig, and then as I add them, I'm going to make sure they overlap about halfway over the next one. And that's going to create a really full looking wreath. So you can see as I start to add all of these sprigs, it's really starting to look like this really cute wreath. Now I really wanted it to be like a really full wreath, so I added some more and more sprigs. There's kind of no right or wrong way. You can just keep adding them until it just looks perfect. And then one of the things that I love that Elena did is she used her white gel pen and she added these little lines so that it kind of looked like little snow frost onto the wreath. And I thought that was so pretty. So you'll see I'm just kind of making some lines, and it's okay if they're kind of like a little broken up and stuff because that's what's going to make it look like frost on the wreath. And I think this is just looking so cute. And now it needs something really cute for the inside. So we're going to take Frosty Family and we're going to be adding this adorable little snowman into the wreath. So we're also going to be giving him a candy cane to go along with our whole theme. And that comes from our Thanks a Latte stamp set. And those two are a really fun match together. So I'm going to add the little Santa hat on to the snowman. And then we're going to go ahead and layer in the candy cane. And then the Frosty Family stamp set has all these cute accessories, different faces, and also little arms that you can add on to the snowmen. And so I'm going to add the arms on so it looks like he's hugging the candy cane, which might be one of the cutest things I've ever seen. And because we added so many white gel pen details to our background and also onto that wreath, I'm just going to add some little white gel pen lines on to the snowman on his arms and the candy cane on the hat. And I think he is just looking adorable. So the next thing that we're going to do is take out some spiffy speckles paper in this purple color, and that's going to end up being a base for the wreath. And so I'm just actually layering the wreath right on top of the paper, and I'm just going to trim this with my scissors. It's going to be really kind of messy looking, and that's okay because it's just going to layer behind the wreath. So I just trimmed right around, and then now I'm just trimming it down so that it fits right behind my wreath. Then once I have this, we can start working on adhering everything together. So first I need to take my snowman and layer him inside the wreath, and I'm just going to trim off any of the excess because he's going to be kind of like sitting in the wreath like that. So I'm just going to take my scissors and just trim off any extra there. And then to give some nice dimension, I'm going to use some foam tape and put it around the wreath. And if you peel up the liner paper on the foam tape, it's really easy to curve it all around in that circle. Then we can add our snowman back in. So I'm going to add him into the center of the wreath and have his like little hat poking up at the top of the wreath just like that. And then we can take this whole thing and just attach that on to that purple piece. And now that gives a nice little shadow behind the snowman. For a sentiment, we're going to take out the brand new Henry's Build a Sentiment Winter. We have a spring version and now we have this winter version that has all of these great sentiments that you can mix and match together to get your perfect holiday sentiment. And for this one, we're going to use "'Tis the Season." And all of these words have the same size rectangular base, so all you need to do is just kind of line them right up with each other. They'll just kind of naturally cling to each other, and then you can pick it up with your block and you'll have your perfect custom sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that out in some black licorice ink, and then we're going to be die cutting that with a sentiment banner. And I didn't have the exact right sentiment banner size, and that's okay. I'm going to line it up on the left-hand side. We'll run it through the die cut machine, and then all we need to do is just shift the die over and line it up on the right-hand side. Your die piece will kind of fit right inside the die, and then you can just hold it in place with some tape and run it through the die cut machine and have the perfect custom size banner. And so we're going to add some adhesive to the back of this banner and then layer that right onto the wreath, which is just so adorable. So now that our whole little wreath is done, which is so cute with that little snowman holding the candy cane, like it just makes me smile. Now we can bring it back onto the candy cane background that we created earlier. And so I'm going to add some more foam squares to the back of the wreath because I just thought it'd be fun to have that wreath really popped up off the card. And now this card is all done, and I just had so much fun making this. It just makes me smile. I love the idea of taking an older favorite like Thanks a Latte or any older favorite stamps that you have in your stash and having the snowman hold on to something. It's just so sweet. And then that candy cane background was so much fun to make. This card just makes me smile. And next up, Shari is going to create another super cute card that's going to make you smile too. So take it away, Shari.
So I'm starting out my card by creating a background with the new peppermint stripe stencils. I have a piece of ballet slipper cardstock cut with the largest outside in stitch rectangle, and I will be doing my stenciling on this piece of cardstock. I've added some removable adhesive to the back just to hold it in place on my glass mat, and I'm starting out with the number 1 stencil in the peppermint stripe set. So that number 1 is etched in the top right corner, and the lawnfawn website is on the bottom. For this one, I'm using some ink, so I have some wild rose ink and my blending brush, and I'm just adding that pink ink to those stripes. I want to go for like a pink peppermint stripe in the background, nothing too dark. I want my Christmas tree that's going to be on this card to really be the star of the show. So once I have these bold stripes inked, I can pull the stencil away and you can see the first step of my peppermint stripe is complete. Next, I'm pulling in stencil number 2. This also has a number 2 in the top right corner. The Lawn Fawn website is etched along the bottom, and there's also some etching lines so you can line it up perfectly with the stripes we've already stenciled. Now for this one, I wanted to do something a little different. I am pulling in my white stencil paste. So we're gonna have that bright white on that pink, and we're also going to have some really fun texture in the background. And since these are really thin stripes, I am just going along in the same direction of the stripes. I'm not going back and forth across the stripes. I want to go parallel with them and just get that stencil paste right into those grooves of the stripes. Once I have it covered really well, and I wanna make sure I get those ends covered really well right at the edge of the cardstock, I'll pull this away and we have these really fun bright white stripes. Now I did immediately go and wash off my stencils so that that stencil paste did not dry, and then I'm going to pull up my background, and I'm going to let this paste dry before I do anything else to it, and I'm just kinda cleaning up the edges with my hand there where it might be a little goopy right where it hit the edge of the cardstock. So I've let that dry for a while, and now I'm adding some white metallic watercolor splatters to the background so that it has some really subtle shimmer. I didn't want anything to distract from this beautiful peppermint stripe, but I wanted it to be shimmery, and this is just going to add a subtle shimmer to the background. So you'll see here, I'll pick it up and I'll turn it in the light and you can see that shimmeriness. So I'll set that aside to dry and move on to my tree. I'm using the Candy Cane Lane Petite paper pack, using this darker teal color with the little tiny trees on it. I thought that would be fun to add some texture to the die cut of my Build a Christmas Tree. So I have my 4 pieces to the Build a Christmas Tree, and I'll just hold these in place with some low tack tape. This pattern is still directional, so I wanted all my trees to be pointing in the right direction. But before I build my tree, I need to cut out the solid piece for the back that all the pieces get glued to. And for this, I just used a piece of white cardstock. I also wanted to add a little bit of inking and definition to this tree, so I am going to ink up the edges of all of my little pieces of the tree with some peacock ink. So I have a small brush and I'm just dusting the bottom where that stitching detail is, and you can see as I kind of stack them along the side here as I get them done, we get that really fun kind of definition to the edges of our tree. Now I can assemble my tree by adding some adhesive all over this solid white piece. And then of course, I'm going to start with that large piece at the bottom and just line it up with that background piece. And you can see that they overlap a little bit, so you're never going to see that white background. I think this would also be fun to create some cuter, shorter trees using 3 layers or 2. And then here is my finished tree, but I need a trunk, and I thought it would be fun to cut the trunk out of this wood grain paper. So I have my little trunk here. I'll just add a little bit of glue to the top, and I can just glue this to the back of my tree. And I'm using my grid mat to make sure that I have it nice and straight. Now we need to decorate our tree, and there are these fun decorations in this set, and I'm going to cut them out of some pixie dust cardstock. So I have that fun white glitter. And I cut 3 of the long ones and 1 short one, and I'll just trim them off as I add them to my tree. So the long one fits across the bottom perfectly. And then as I work my way up, I'm just going to turn these little decorations so that they're not all exactly in the same angle. And then whatever's hanging off the side of my tree, I will just trim off with a pair of scissors. Additionally, in this die set, there are some single little baubles, and I'm going to cut these from some guava cardstock. So keeping in that pink theme, but a little bit darker than my background piece, I cut this about 3 times to get about 15 little circles here so that I can add them to my decorations on my tree. And I thought it would be fun to do them every other circle on these strings that are already on the tree. So I'm just adding some dots of glue and dropping them into place, and this adds some really fun color to our Christmas tree. These would be fun out of all kinds of rainbow colors, and you can cut them out of colors to match your project perfectly. Now let's move back to our background. It's nice and dry, and so I'm going to add this to a card base. And originally I was just going to leave this as is with that little white border around the side, but I felt like it needed a little bit more. So while this dries, I'm going to put a block on it so it dries nice and flat. I'm going to cut a scalloped frame from some silver sparkle cardstock. And when I added this to my card base, that was perfect. I loved the look of that sparkly frame. So I'll add some liquid glue around that frame and I'll just pop this right onto the card. And I will lay my acrylic block on top of it again so it will dry nice and flat, especially because I'm gluing on to that white paste. While that block is there, I figured I would figure out some more colors and pieces. I have some raspberry cardstock here that I'm going to cut the tree skirt from. So again, sticking in that pink family, but a little bit darker so it stands out. And I think that this is looking really cute. I love these kind of non-traditional colors. I also need a star for the top, so I thought I'd cut that from some gold metallic cardstock. And I will just go ahead and add this little star to the top. There is a little tree topper as well, but I'm just adding the star by itself. I wanted to add some more details to the little tree skirt here, and I pulled out my white gel pen and I'm just kind of tracing around the inside edge of that stitching detail. I love that the stitching detail is added. It adds some nice detail, but I just wanted something a little bit more. It looked a little too plain on my card, and this was the perfect little detail to add. Now for my sentiment, I'm cutting a wavy banner from Fog cardstock, and I am using a sentiment from Winter Wavy Sayings that says Happy Holidays. Any of the sayings in this would be perfect for a card like this. I'm just going to pick this up with my acrylic block and stamp this in some crisp black ink onto that little sentiment banner. Sorry for my head, I was just making sure it was nice and lined up. So now we have this cute little sentiment to go along the bottom of our Christmas tree. Now we need to start to assemble our tree together, so I'm going to put everything on here to get some placement. I'll be gluing that tree skirt directly to the background, and I want to make sure I use some liquid glue because again, I am gluing over top of that stencil paste so it has some dimension that I need that glue to stick to. For my sentiment banner and my tree, I'll be using some foam squares so it can be popped up and have some dimension. So I'll just add these little foam squares onto my sentiment banner first and layer this right along the bottom of my tree skirt. And I think that that is a really fun look with that tree skirt kind of peeking out from behind that sentiment. And then for my tree, I'm adding some foam squares to it as well. And then it will be popped up off that background too. I wanted to add a little bit more shimmer and shine, so I've pulled out some iridescent gems and I'm just sprinkling those around. Once I have them where I want them, I will just add a little dot of liquid glue and drop them back into place. This would be a good place for sequins, gems, or some little dots of stickles. Now I did cut out these two little ornaments. This is also part of the Build a Christmas Tree die set, but I didn't end up using them the way I thought I might. So instead of letting them go to waste, I decided to decorate the inside of my card. So I pulled out the Merry Messages stamp set and found a sentiment that I thought went really well, stamping that in some peacock ink, and then I thought it would be fun to add these little ornaments kind of around the sentiment. So I'm just putting them here for some placement. I'm going to draw a little dot with my pencil, and then I'm going to hand draw in some little strings for them to hang from the top. And if you're worried about drawing a straight line, you can draw over it a couple times and it kind of looks like a hand-drawn wavy line that you did on purpose. That's what I did here. I traced over a second time, so I have that kind of imperfect little hanger. And then I just put two little dots of glue and I'm dropping my little ornaments back into place. You could also add some glitter or some little white gel pen highlights to them if you wanted. And here is my finished card with that really fun peppermint stripe background using the stencil paste and that beautiful Build a Christmas Tree. I really love the colors on this card.
Oh my goodness, Shari, I love this card so much. That background is just stunning and it is so sparkly and beautiful. And next up, we have some incredible cards by the design team. And here, Mindy combined our awesome new Build a Christmas Tree with our window frame die. And oh my gosh, those curtains, the peppermint curtains, the cute little cheesy Christmas mice dancing around the tree. I just love this. These tags by Grace are so beautiful. I love the colors she used and how she used different colors of cardstock for all the layers of the Christmas trees. I love how Elise did red and green stripes for the peppermint stripes and her Merry Christmas with the holly. It's just gorgeous. Here we have the cheesy Christmas mice dancing around the Christmas tree with the brand new Build a Christmas Tree die, and I just love those two sets together. Here is the gorgeous card by Elena that inspired me to make mine. I love that little snowman in the fun candy cane background. Here Audrey created her cool stencil background with the peppermint striped stencils, and then her tree is just gorgeous over top. Tammy used the candy cane background stencils to create the perfect background for her peppermint latte. This is just adorable. And then here, I love the Build a Christmas Tree on our brand new coffee cup gift card holder die. It's a perfect match over top. Here we layered our Christmas tree with that fun candy cane background stencil, and it just makes me smile. And then Maureen shows us that that candy cane background could be fun for other holidays like Halloween too. And I think this is so much fun with such great colors. And I just love Letitia's candy cane background. It's so beautiful. The pink and red together are so wonderful for the holidays. So we cannot wait to see all of your Build a Christmas Tree cards and all of your amazing stencil backgrounds. So make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and we hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye.